update. Am I the a-hole for not letting my sister walk down the aisle at my wedding? Original post. I, 29 female, am getting married to the love of my life, 30 male, in a few months. We were high school lovers and childhood friends. He's truly my best friend and everything I want in life. However, we both decided to wait until we were well off to be married so we could have our once-in-a-lifetime magical moment. My sister, Stacy, 21 female, got married at 19 to someone who I like but I'm not super close with. They were together for 5 months before he proposed. Their wedding was rushed, and half our family couldn't even make it because of how soon it was planned and set up. It was small and just in a courtroom. No dress, party or anything, just a legal wedding. However, my wedding is around $19K, and we haven't even finished everything. It took us ages to set everything up and save. Stacy recently came up to me while coming over. We're close and have dinner once a week at my place, and asked if she could walk down my aisle and meet her husband so she could feel like a bride. I laughed and asked if she was serious, and she was. She claims she never got her magic moment and just wants to feel special once. But it's my wedding and my special day. She had hers. Stacy claims it will only be between us and it won't take away from me. But then I asked what she might wear, and she showed me pictures on her phone of wedding dresses. Hard no for me. She then asked again yesterday in front of my fiancé, and I think it was an attempt to pressure me. He laughed and said no, thinking it was a joke, like I did the first time. My mother and Stacy's husband say I'm being a-hole because Stacy still isn't rich, so she can't afford another wedding even if she wanted one. But neither are me and my future husband. We just planned for years. I just wanted one day for myself. But maybe I'm blowing it up because she never got the bridal experience? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. There is no conceivable universe where her walking down the aisle on your wedding day at a location of your wedding, wearing a wedding dress, will be just between the two of you and not detract from your day. It's rude of her to even ask. If she wants a special moment, she's free to plan her own vow renewal event, where she wears a wedding dress and has all her family, etc. If she was just going to wear a nice dress and walk before me and stand beside me and her husband, I would probably have no problem with it, or at least let her do it. But I feel like she's just trying to use my wedding as a free event for her. That would be nice of you, but given how much work, planning, and orchestrating a wedding is, and how much money spent, it should really be about you. Not a-hole. I see stuff like this on the sub, and I am shocked that people have the audacity to even ask stuff like this. It doesn't matter if she's her sister, and her moment wasn't what she hoped for. If you allow this, then your moment will be different than you imagine it to be too. Your sister and her husband made their choices. They could have waited, but they didn't. I asked her when she accepted his proposal if she was sure it was a good idea, since it seemed really rushed. But her response was that since my boyfriend proposed a few weeks earlier, she wanted to get hers over with and tie the knot, so that I would be able to have my wedding in the fall like I always dreamed, and hers wouldn't overlap. Have a trusted person ready with a glass of red wine to accidentally stumble into the sister if she shows up in a white dress. That would probably cause tons of problems, since the dresses she's been showing off and texting me have been $500 to $2,000, and knowing her, I would be paying if anything happened. Hold up, what? If she can afford a $1,000 wedding dress, then she can afford to do a vow renewal, either in a cheap venue or in a backyard. She is guilt-tripping you massively, and so is your mom. I'm so sorry for you. Having read your post and some of your comments, it sounds like you've been conditioned to feel like you owe your sister, and to feel guilty when you don't sideline yourself to make her number one. Please choose yourself over her for your wedding, and don't let her come if she shows up in a wedding dress, or doesn't drop the issue altogether. I do feel a bit left out, since she's offering to pay so much for herself. Yet, a few days ago she said money was tight, and she couldn't get me a wedding gift. I needed money for the hotel, even though I'm only paying for family coming out of state. And my wedding location is 1 to 2 hours from Stacy's house. I'll talk to her tomorrow and try to shut things down, since we have brunch planned. Now for the update. Hello everyone. I just wanted to post an update on the situation with my sister Stacy. The day after I made a post, me, my fiancé, Stacy, and her husband met up for brunch. I told her she needed to hear me out fully before she spoke, and thankfully she did. In short, I told her as much as I love her, I've waited years for this day, and it was mine. She had hers, and if she truly wanted, she could have used the money I gifted her to get her own wedding. Her husband tried to cut me off and say that they needed the money for rent, but she didn't let him talk. I then showed her the Reddit post, and she started crying and asked her husband and my fiancé to step out for a few minutes. They both did, and she told me that her husband and our mom had been the ones pressuring her, since she had admittedly been jealous, and told them both she wished she could have a larger scale wedding. She said she had been over the whole thing until her husband started saying it wasn't fair because he was jealous that he couldn't provide for her, and eventually complained enough she asked to walk down the aisle for him. Stacy said she was willing to fully back out of the wedding and would understand given the heartache she's given me, but I told her that her husband would be the one without an invite, which she gratefully agreed to. We talked more in depth on why she was jealous, and she said she regretted being married so early, just so our father could be at her wedding. After a few more minutes and both of us crying and forgiving one another, I told her she could always tell me anything, even if it was between her and her husband. When my fiancé and her husband came back in, I told Stacy's husband he was uninvited right then and there. He seemed to understand why immediately, though he did groan about it and call me multiple times. But I blocked him again. Over the past few days, our mother has called to apologize, and me and Stacy have been talking much more openly and honestly to one another. I decided to let her wear a dark silver or pale gold dress to match my theme and walk with me down the aisle, as my father sadly can't. She told me I didn't need to, but I insisted. We ended up finding a dress we both love, and I got it as a gift for her. Thank you all for the support and kind words. This is a touching update. I hope all goes well for you, your soon-to-be husband, and your sister. Thank you. I hope so too. Sound like you made the best of this situation. Having her walk you down the aisle was a great move. I'm sorry for the loss of your father. Your brother-in-law is a piece of work. He feels jealous because he can't provide for her, but is comfortable forcing others to provide? And not even necessities, but luxuries. What an entitled a-hole. OP, stay close to her sister. She has already given you signs that she's not happy in her marriage and may need your support to get out of it. Yes, I'll be keeping him close enough to keep an eye on him, but not too close. He's not a horrible guy, just very bad with money and hot-tempered. I hoped with age he would mellow out, but I'm not sure. OP, I know you're trying to see the good in him, but your brother-in-law sounds just like my dad. My dad never mellowed out, and in fact, age just made him worse and worse. He got angrier and angrier. Please be there for your sister if the worst in him finally comes out. You're a very kind and good sister, and I'm glad you held the line on this. At the same time, your sister also pushed you to pay for a hotel room she didn't need. Was that her husband's request too? And now you've bought her a beautiful dress. She may have pulled back so as not to exit the gravy train. I hope not. But remember to keep your boundaries solid for smaller things, as well as your wedding. Have a beautiful wedding. I did speak to her about that, because while they're short on money, they didn't need a hotel room. It was again her husband. He wanted a mini vacation, on my dime sadly. I may end up cutting him fully out for my life, because I don't need someone like him anymore in it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to talk to my mother after telling me I will not be getting a family heirloom for my wedding? My mother and father had a very toxic marriage and finally divorced 2 years ago. My father came from an ancestral wealthy family, and my mother did not. My father's mother gave my mother pieces from the family jewelry collection through the years. It was always my mom's intention to hand down these pieces for special occasions to myself and my sister. After my parents divorced, my mom absolutely hates my dad. She remarried within a year to a man of very humble means. She also moved on from my sister and I, truly focusing on building connections with her new stepchildren and doting on her new husband. I had a baby 5 months ago and she has only visited twice. They live life very simple and small. That is their choice. My mom will never receive something extravagant again. I, 35 female, am getting married this fall. My sister, 33 female, was married last year. and after much pressure put on my mom, received a coveted platinum, gold, diamond, and sapphire bracelet from my great-grandmother's collection from the early 1900s. I asked my mom for a ring from my father's side, that is a chiseled family crest of a rare stone set in gold. I thought she would have no care for it, since she hates my dad, and it is my family. She said no, that I will not receive anything, with no explanation. My sister and I figured that it's because our mom doesn't want to part with any of the collection, because she loves fine jewelry. Mind you, my grandmother did give it to my mother, but she wants nothing to do with that family, lives in an unlocked small house in the middle of nowhere, with a known history of break-ins, and kept everything from my father's side during the divorce. I am scared that someone will steal these pieces that have been in my family for hundreds of years, and I also don't trust her new husband's family. I'm disgusted with her. I find her selfish. Am I the a-hole for wanting to cut her out because I find her to be immature, or am I the one who is immature? Not the a-hole. While legally hers, the jewelry was almost certainly passed to your mother with the expectation it would stay in the family. She should honor that expectation. Although if you cut her out, you are virtually guaranteeing she won't will the jewelry to you either. What do you want to bet they've been selling some of the collection? That was my first thought as well. Honestly, passing them down would be getting rid of something Opie's mom didn't want anymore. Depending on how bad the marriage was, I could totally see Opie's mom selling them. I wonder if she's given them away to her stepchildren in order to win them over. Not a-hole. The intent was clear that they would be handed down as family heirlooms. She was a caretaker of them, not the owner. That's very common with heirloom pieces. I have two from my mom, both well over 100 years old, and one will go to each of my daughters on a special occasion. Also, your mom is the a-hole for cutting off communication with her own children, just because she took up with another guy. How do we know it won't be handed down? Opie's mom is still alive. She doesn't have to hand over these pieces while she's still living. She doesn't. You're right. I think I'm just scared because my mother is so trusting. I don't trust these items in her hands right now. She's not giving it to you when she dies. She gave one to your sister but not to you. She would tell you if it was just, I'm saving it to be passed on later. I regret not doing the same for your sister, or something. Otherwise, she sounds like she plays favorites even between you two, because to just flat out tell you no sounds bizarre. Last story. Am I the a-hole for building my teenage sons a bedroom in the backyard? My wife and I have 5 children together. 9 male, 8 male, 7 male, 4 male, and 2 male. And I have 3 children with my ex-wife. 17 male, 15 male, 13 female. When I bought our current house, it had 4 bedrooms. I later renovated the basement to add another 2 bedrooms. My wife and I have 1 room, the 3 teenagers had a room each, and the younger boys share the same other 2 rooms, with various configurations over the years. As the younger boys get older, things are going to get more cramped for them, and we haven't ruled out having more kids. I also don't want to immediately take my older kids' rooms away the second they go to college, and maybe they'll stay local or not go at all. Because of this, I started looking at how I would add more bedrooms. The property our house is on is a little under 1 acre. Last year, I decided I would build a den in the backyard that could become the older boys' bedrooms. The build was finished a few weeks ago and the boys have moved in. They have a small shared living space that includes a kitchenette, a shared bathroom, and they each have their own rooms. It's essentially a tiny house in our yard. The boys love it, and we had a lot of fun working on the build together. My ex-wife, however, is less than pleased with the boys' new living arrangements. She has multiple safety concerns, as she thinks they're too far away if something happens, and that they will feel like they could get away with whatever, as I can't monitor them well. She also thinks it's unfair they will have to walk through a yard to get to and from their bedrooms to the house, even in adverse weather conditions. She feels as though I'm pushing the boys away by housing them in the backyard, and that it suggests I'm prioritizing my new family, while at the same time thinking giving them a cool den in the backyard is favoring them over their sister. I think her biggest issue is the one she didn't mention, which is worrying the boys will want to spend even more time at my house if they have more privacy and great place to hang with their friends. We no longer split custody based on our custody agreement, And for the last few years, the boys have lived a majority of the time with me, whereas our daughter alternates between our houses every 2 weeks. My ex is trying to make it out like I'm a massive a-hole in this situation, but I really don't feel like I am. However, in the past, I haven't always known when I have been an a-hole, so maybe I'm missing something. Am I the a-hole? Not a-hole. If it meets code, you're fine. If some adverse event is forecasted, deal with it at a time. And by the way, she doesn't get a say-so about how you manage at her house. It's nice that you listen, but she's not in charge. Those boys are old enough to be held accountable if they mess up, and until then, have your trust. They're nearly adults. And it's actually a perfect way to learn how to live on your own while still having the safety net of your parents nearby if needed. This is actually a very good point, and makes me support OP even more. Not a-hole. The boys are 17 and 15. They're going to want to keep that privacy that having their own bedroom gives, and they seem to be absolutely ecstatic with this, being how they get to keep it while still giving space to their younger half-siblings. If they felt like they were being isolated from the family, this would be a different answer. Weather is too adverse to travel a short distance through the yard, time to have a family sleepover in the main house living room. They're old enough that it's their opinion that matters, not your ex-wife's. I would have killed to have that kind of space as a teen. It's partially why I appreciate my apartment so much as an adult. It's nice to have a place that you can always feel is your space. And even if you leave for college, it's nice to know you have a place to go home to. Exactly. Even gives them a place to stay if they come back as adults to visit on the holidays or just because. He's created a private place that will last and be appreciated by the kids, even in the future. Shows that dad here cares about the long term.